Welcome. Today, I am going to be talking about maintaining estrogen balance during midlife, so through perimenopause and menopause, but more from an Eastern medicine perspective. And then I'm going to give you some supportive suggestions to balance you, and ultimately that will balance your estrogen. So beyond HRT, I know HRT is very helpful for women, but not every woman wants to go on HRT or can. So today I'm going to give you a little bit more of a holistic view of estrogen. So welcome. My name is Angela Warburton. I am an Eastern medicine practitioner. I've been working with women in the clinic for over 25 years. My background is also in Western nutrition, dietetics. I work with herbal medicine, lifestyle medicine, essential oils, and I'm here to support you through this powerful transition, menopause. I'm also a postmenopausal woman. I'm almost 55 years old. And so as I started to go through menopause, I didn't love our narrative that we have it very, menopause is way beyond just hormonal balance. And yet we have a story that's made it somehow wrong or something that we have to overcome or hack our way through, and that we're not programmed to be able to handle this just normally. And that we really narrowed it down to a series of symptoms, which is not what menopause is. So it's through my own journey, but then the medicine that I practice that I've brought all this together to share it with you to help you transition with way more ease, with way more, being way more empowered, and ideally a little more delight too, because this is a very powerful but really neat time of life too. So not everyone thinks of it that way, but I do. Okay, menopause. So it's so much more than just hormones. It's a significant life transition. In Eastern medicine, we call it the second spring. So it really is like a rebirth. But if you think of the cycles that we go through spring, summer, fall, winter, and winter can be a bit of a pause, a time where we have brought our resources in. We need to stop for a little bit so that we can come out refreshed in the spring. So the portal of menopause, as I like to call it, is taking us through this transition so that we can come out refreshed, laser focused in a different way, utilizing unique skills, gifts, all the different experience that you've had through your life, and then putting that out into the world, bringing it out into the world in a unique way that is you, because you know yourself better than you ever have. Ideally, you're not caring so much what other people think, and you're here to do something great, even if it's have a great garden or be a great grandparent or just be just a lovely person who's expressing creatively as you. So that's the idea of the second spring. But hormones do play a role, and particularly estrogen. But shouldn't be our sole purpose or focus. There is a huge transition, just like puberty has a huge transition in hormones. We get an influx of hormones, hence all the emotions and things that go along with puberty. And then after we're done our menstruating years, where we're able to procreate, to have children, our body starts to reprioritize resources for longevity. So it's like, that takes a lot of energy. So we're going to stop losing energy that way and repurpose it. So then we go from sort of a flat line of hormones to this big wave that we have when we're menstruating to more of a flat line. So our estrogen is naturally going to decrease. This is normal. This is healthy. This is what we want. So in Eastern medicine, we talk about estrogen as part of yin energy. So yin energy is part of that yin-yang balance, which most people have probably heard of. And yin and yang, they coexist, they exist in everything, and they are meant to operate in a harmonious balance. So yin is more receptive, more passive, where yang is more of an active, outward focused energy. Yin hormones would be more estrogen, progesterone, where yang hormones would be more testosterone and cortisol. So more the active, warming, doing hormones, and yin are more of the substance hormones. So as we go through midlife and menopause, our landscape changes. So that estrogen naturally decreases, but we become a little more level. We actually become men's hormones change too, and we become a little more similar. Our brains become more similar. And there's this kind of a neat transition. I did a whole section on that if you're interested. But so this is normal, so that we're going to change. The problem arises when we don't adjust our lifestyle, or when we think something's wrong, when we have a drop in estrogen. So number one, if we're operating and thinking that we need to operate in the same way we have in our 20s and 30s and early 40s, and we're refusing to change, that's where we're going to see a problem because our bodies aren't meant to operate that way. It's kind of like going through puberty and saying, no, I'm going to stay a child. I'm just going to operate the way I did as a child, even though I've gone through this massive transition through puberty and I'm now an adult. Something different is called through this portal. So we need to adjust. We don't have as much energy, but we do have energy. And so we need to reprioritize. Problem is, we live in a world that prioritizes this yang energy. We have a yang dominant culture. We have we prioritize doing, accomplishing, activity, checking things off the to-do list. Productivity is king. So if we're producing, if we're productive in a day, we feel good and feel like, that's where my worth lies. So we'd say this is a bit of a distorted masculine view. Doing is really important, but it's equally as important to have this yin energy. So this more passive, this receptive energy. And so when we live in a world where we're constantly doing, we actually deplete the yin energy. So this can lead to burnout, to stress, to ultimately hormonal imbalance, and contributes to a lot of the symptoms that we associate and see in midlife women today. So common symptoms like hot flashes, a lot of the risks that we associate with low estrogen, cardiac risk, mood, metabolism changes, vaginal or urinary health changes, bone density issues, is ultimately because we're what I call in hormonal overdraft. So hormonal overdraft is when we are continually operating from this doing perspective. The body will prioritize these doing hormones because they ultimately are our survival hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. And so the body will sacrifice juicy hormones like estrogen to produce more cortisol. So if we keep doing that, we're going along, we have balance, and then it's like, oh, I better get this stuff done. Oh, I'm just going to go out a little, we'll stay up a little later. Oh, I'm going to reprioritize other people's needs over my own. Oh, I'm going to, whatever we do, I'm going to have a little more coffee. I'm going to have a little more sugar. We end up in basically in hormonal overdraft. We've sacrificed some of the yin hormones to produce more of the yang hormones. And what happens when we come from this overdraft place is that's when we start to see symptoms like hot flashes, irritability, fatigue, a lot of the things we commonly associate with menopause. Even though they are common, they're not inevitable, and they are not actually, I'm going to say normal, even though it's normal that many people have it. And this is not to make anyone wrong in any way, but there are many cultures in the world that get very few symptoms at all, or very minor ones. It's tight shoulders, sometimes headaches are the only thing that women get. And if you've paid attention to your peers, if you're a woman around midlife, everybody's experiencing differently. That's because there's not one way to experience menopause, and your body is going to be telling you through symptoms and through signs what is out of balance. This is how Eastern medicine works. We look at the body as an ecosystem, and all the little signs and symptoms are like your body tugging on your sleeve saying, pay attention to me over here. This is what I need. So noticing when you have symptoms. For me, when I started, I had an emotional response to things. If I didn't say what I felt emotionally, if I was shaming myself, if I said yes when I meant no, I would get a hot flash. And then I recognized that and I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Maybe I'll stop doing that. And my hot flashes went away. And so we have to look at where are we overriding our needs or overriding ourselves, and then what symptoms come up when we do that. So navigating this time is really about understanding your body and what's going on, and listening to what changes want to be heard, or what needs to be done. And as much as HRT is helpful, there's some great research on it. I am not anti-HRT, but it does offer a lot of relief to some people, but it's not the answer. It is a bit of a Band-Aid. And I look at it a bit like we have a bucket that is us, and we want to have that bucket full. So when we come, women, for sure, when you are full, feeling full, you naturally give out. You naturally spill, this energy spills out to the world, and you come from a place of authentic giving. When we are operating out of a place where we're not authentically giving for whatever reason, we have holes in our bucket. So that's leaking energy. We all have personal energy leaks, whatever that is. We overgive, say yes when we mean no, we overstuff our schedules, we don't listen to our needs for rest. And so those would be, I call them energy leaks, or holes in your bucket. And so if we were trying to get a full bucket, HRT is like pouring more water in your bucket, but if you don't address the leaks, it's not getting to the root cause. And we always want to get to the root of what the underlying imbalance is. So then you understand you're plugging those leaks, and drip by drip by drip, you can fill up your bucket in whatever way that needs to be filled. So we're always looking for this root in Eastern medicine. And it's the little things that we do that make a huge difference to rebalance. So let's talk a little bit about supporting estrogen naturally. So again, we're not trying to get back to premenopause, because that's not what our body's meant to do. But we do want to make sure that we're supporting estrogen, supporting our body so it can do its job and not leaking, not going into that hormonal overdraft. So some of the things you can do, if you think of this yin side of things, you want to prioritize being, resting, and rest. There's some great work by Sandra Dalton Smith, I believe is her name. And she talks about the 7 types of rest. So there's actually getting enough sleep, but there's also spiritual rest, social rest, creative rest. So sometimes we just need, and particularly in midlife, more time on our own. So you can ask yourself, what kind of rest do I need? I'm an introvert, so I need time on my own to process. And this certainly was true when I went through menopause as well. So looking at those more the estrogen or those yin supporting activities. You want to look at what would be stimulating cortisol or those stress hormones in your body. So much of what I do is giving you tools to help reset the nervous system so that you're not leaking energy because you're turning energy into cortisol. So stress reducing symptoms, that will be really helpful. Not eating or drinking foods that are too stimulating. So coffee, alcohol, sugar, processed foods with a lot of additives, they are actually going to deplete your system more. And as much as they give you a temporary fix of energy, they're ultimately going to deplete you. So whole foods, eating foods as close from, when you pull it out of the earth, to try to get it to your table as fast as possible, eating a rainbow. That can be really helpful. Make sure you're taking care of your gut. So cooking your food is one of the number one things. So many women turn to smoothies and salads if they start to gain weight. And that can be really detrimental because it's a huge part of building hormones, is our body's ability to break it down. So I've done a couple of videos on that if you're interested in that. But one of the biggest things is listening to yourself, allowing the time and space for yourself to be, and listening to what you need. It can feel, a lot of women like, oh, if I take this time, I'm selfish. I can't prioritize myself. And in Eastern medicine, there's a term called yang shen, and I call it the sacred art of self-nourishment. And when we're nourishing ourselves, we're filling the bucket, we ultimately end up giving more. So that's really important. I have a membership, and this is what the whole focus is these ways that you can self-nourish yourself. So with that comes along honoring your no. There's a saying I love: you can't trust your yes unless you trust your no. And this is a big issue this was a big issue for me too. I had to learn to say that because I was always wanting to overgive or to take care of others. And it's like, oh, I can't actually do that. And the nice thing is when you honor your no, people trust you more because they know when you say yes, you really mean yes. And then when you say no, it's because you can't do it. So instead of things leaking out sideways, we say, yeah, that's fine. Fine is never fine. So just listening and honoring yourself. And it can be a journey to figure that out yourself. So yin supportive lifestyle, resting more, going to bed earlier, creating self-care for yourself, saying no when needed. And then some foods. When we think of the yin and the yang is more heating, more drying, more active. Yin is more cooling, moistening. And so you want to include foods that have that nature. The beautiful thing is when science and ancient medicine come together, and they're saying the same thing. So it's great. But just some ways you can bring, if you're very hot and dry and noticing some of that, what we call yin deficiency, you can eat foods in more of a watery medium. So that could be brothy soups or pureed soups or fresh pressed juices. And if you have soups, you can have them at room temperature. So they're cooked foods, but they're not hot. Seaweeds are so phenomenal for putting different minerals back in your body. They're they're detoxifying naturally. They are super high in minerals like calcium and iodine, and they're just great. So you can throw them into soups, you can make a seaweed salad, you can sprinkle it on food, you can have seaweed snacks, they're great. And then a lot of the dark leafy greens, nuts, healthy oils, they're all really important as well. A lot of people always write in asking about oxalates. I'm going to do a video on that soon, but one of the oxalate foods that are high on oxalate have so many other benefits as well. One of the biggest things I see when people are reactive to them is their gut is not strong. So when we have a bit of a leaky gut, let's say, or something where the gut is not absorbing well, then we're going to get reaction to foods that we might not have if it were have a healthy gut. So I see this with dairy, I see it with oxalates too. So one of the best things you can do with that is to cook your food. That actually decreases a lot of the effects of the oxalates. And avoid smoothies and juices if you have a sensitivity to that. So that's why I love pureed soups. It's sort of my number one. Cold pressed juices, if you have them, not a ton of them, but just a little bit. And it's a nice way to rehydrate, but don't overdo it. We tend to have, I call it the problem with superfoods. We think, oh, this food is great, so more is better. Not always the case. We want diversity. We want to cook. You want to change with your seasons, what you're eating. So more cooked in the fall, winter, spring, a little more raw in the summer if you can tolerate it. So your body's wise. If you're wanting, like learning to trust yourself and your body's wisdom is a huge part of this transition through perimenopause and menopause. And when you're able to tap in and listen and honor that, and I recognize it's not always easy because it requires up-leveling and shifting relationships, and there's always dynamics. But the more you first and foremost honor and understand yourself, then it's going to ripple out and everyone's going to do better with this as well, and you're going to feel better. So it's a bit of a more holistic view of estrogen as it relates to yin and that balance, and from an Eastern medicine perspective, because you are an ecosystem. So I hope that was helpful. If you like this video, if it was helpful for you, please hit like. If you want more of this kind of information, I am putting videos out every week to help you navigate this time, perimenopause and menopause, with more grace and ease. And I'll give you a lot of tools, so hit subscribe. And if you know anyone else that would benefit from this, please forward it on. I am here to serve and to pass on what I know so that you have the tools to thrive, because you are a radiant woman, and radiance comes through vitality and through knowing yourself and being able to express in the authentic way you were born to do. So thank you for being here. I will see you next time.